We are back. I will not sing and make everyone's ears bleed, but we are so back, and I'm so excited because I have missed this podcast, and it was something that I was really enjoying, my little creative outlet, and I know that others were enjoying as well. So we are back, and back from our little hiatus. I will tell you what I've been up to, but welcome back to Motherhood on the Move with yours truly, Brittany Nettles. I realized last week this was a 2026 goal of mine to get the podcast up and running again after our extended hiatus. I didn't expect for it to be that long, but I'll tell you why it was so long. I compressed many things into a few months that most normal people do over the course of a year, maybe 2 years, maybe 5 years. And to say that I am thriving right now is not true, but I am surviving, and we are showing up. We are still doing the damn thing, and we are making lemonade out of the lemons that we have right now where we can. So, little life update. I know that a lot of you already follow me on Instagram. Love you all. And I'm here to elaborate on a few things that I've touched on. Of course, Instagram is the highlight reel, but I try to keep it as raw and real as possible, just sharing my little glimmers of positivity and realness where I can. It's my little corner of the internet. I protect my peace, but I think I wanted to give everyone a little bit more of an extended update so you know what was happening really behind the scenes, because I know that I've been told by a few people that I make life and motherhood and businesshood and just existing easy, which is absolutely not true, because I struggle my way through every day and limp my way to bedtime, as I'm sure that everybody else does too. Nonetheless, what have we been up to? So let's rewind. I was really getting into a groove with interviews and podcasting, and then Q4 of last year was just absolutely absurd. I did not anticipate the number of buyers and sellers that we would be working with towards the end of the year, which is a great problem, an incredible blessing. We love to work with our clients and help them out, but I was not expecting the sheer volume of people who would decide to move immediately before the holidays. So, I mean, good for those people, because real estate doesn't have a timeline. And more importantly, I've been saying it until I'm blue in the face, but this time of year, Q4, Q1 of the next year too, winter essentially, is my favorite time of year for buyers and sellers, because you get some screaming deals as buyers, and as sellers, you don't have as much competition, because not everybody wants to be brave enough and put their property on the market prior to the holidays. Everybody wants to enjoy the holidays and the festivities and the Yule tides. And for my clients who decided that was less important, when the right house crops up, they're ready to make a move, they leaped, and I'm so happy that they did. But our Q4 was absolutely absurd, and I did not have time to do the podcast as much as I thought I would. In addition to that, we're pregnant. We're expecting baby girl, kid number 2, in July of 2026, and that was something that we were planning on, so it was not a surprise. But we were planning and trying for a few months prior to getting pregnant. I didn't expect everything to all happen at once, which is, the universe loves to work that way. And we got pregnant at the end of October. And naturally, first trimester knocks you on your ass for most people. I did not have the worst first trimester. I was not throwing up, vomiting. I know that a lot of women out there experience that, and I'm grateful that I did not, but I had awful nausea. I was so cranky. Sorry to my husband. He was a trooper, but I was so cranky. I was a little curmudgeon every night because I was just running on fumes. Raising a toddler while you're pregnant in your first trimester is 0 stars. Do not recommend. You can't just lay horizontal at any given moment. And shout out to Nick. He was incredibly helpful, told me to go lay down where I could. But there's still a lot of mom guilt in that when you are sick and you can't show up for your toddler or your family. Lots of takeout meals were had because I was allergic to everything in my house, figuratively speaking, of course. And I felt allergic to my house. Nothing in my house felt good, sounded good. Teddy had consumed a lot of Thomas the Tank Engine, and to say that I am now nauseated by that show would not be a lie. I hear that sound now, that tune, and it makes me nauseous. I don't know if anybody else has experienced that with first trimester. You just associate so many different things, not just food related, to nausea. So I wanted to like set my house on fire. Fortunately, I did not because I sold it, and I'll get to that. But yeah, the first trimester was really brutal, and I survived it. And I feel like we all get pregnancy amnesia. We forget how bad the first trimester is, hence why we do it all over again. Yeah, it was a lot worse than it was with Teddy, that's for sure. So I was showing up to settlements with clients very nauseous. Some of them didn't even know, right? That's the lonely, maybe not lonely side, but the side of pregnancy. You're not ready to quite share the news yet. You're still either sharing it with your immediate group or you're just keeping it to yourself because it is a little bit more of a sensitive period. And I wasn't ready to share it with my clients yet. So, I showed up white as a ghost. Some people noticed, some people didn't. Some people I definitely spilled the beans with because they're parents, and I just couldn't help myself. But, celebrating good news is what I'm after. But we showed up, we did the thing. But when I say that I had to make it to settlements with, I felt like I was driving sideways sometimes because I was so nauseous. I had to get someplace, but I also needed to simultaneously lay down. I don't know how I made that happen, but you do. And in hindsight, not so great. Probably should have just stayed home. But you show up and you rally because I also feel like I need to be there for my clients, which is, we'll talk about that in therapy one day. But yeah, we're pregnant, baby girl on the way, very excited. I am 16 weeks now, so we're looking forward to that. In addition, we sold our house back in December of 2025, last year, and we moved into an Airbnb temporarily because we bought our new house in November, the month prior, with the plan of fixing it up. And originally that was going to take about a month and a half, 2 months, maybe. We weren't doing anything super invasive. We weren't stripping it down entirely to the studs. At least that was not the original plan. And fast forward, we're now moved into our house as of last weekend. We've been out of our Airbnb for 2 weeks now, which means that we had to stay in a hotel for a week because our house was not anywhere near completed or even remotely ready for somebody to sleep in it, let alone a toddler and a pregnant woman. Between fumes and just we didn't have one functioning bathroom. And I'll tell you why. So we're living in our house now. We're living in about, I'd say 60% of our house is usable right now. The other 40% is, our kitchen is just a box right now. We did strip that down to the studs. And we have one just barely functioning bathroom. It was supposed to be completed by now. All 3 bathrooms were supposed to be completed by now. And we discovered last night that one of them has a leak. And that's no fault of ours, a fault of our contractors. I'm not here to name names, but I will share a story. So, rewind to November. We were shopping contractors. I got this name of a contractor from an admirable friend and very well-known friend, developer friend, realtor friend in the industry. Trust him. I still trust him. You know who you are. I'm not upset with you. I still take your referrals very highly. And I got this name, interviewed this contractor, and that was probably mistake number 1, was while we did bring in some subs, some individualized contractors, some specialists, we hired a GC to pretty much oversee the bathrooms and kitchen renovation. And they were supposed to oversee the project, do project management. We were just there to supply the material. Great. Nothing we haven't done in the past. We ended up hiring that contractor. And again, we didn't shop our old contractors just because we've used them in the past. They did great work, but we were psyched about having someone in to manage everything for us. That was the downside of using our old contractors. They were not GCs. They would go in and we would still have to be very hands-on, which at that point, I explained everything, right? Pregnant, business is crazy, Nick is crazy at work, we have our toddler, we're moving, we're selling our house, so much was going on. I was willing to pay a premium to have a GC come in and relieve us of that responsibility. We bring them on, we agree to a price, we get to work, a week or two after settlement. We ended up bringing our family members up to do the demo because they have construction experience. If any of you have done construction before, you know that demo is the most fun and exciting and sometimes nerve-wracking part, because that's the real discovery, and that's where discovery happens and you get to see really what the house is made of. Fortunately, it was uneventful, fairly boring. We found some compromised areas, but nothing beyond repair, no extreme structural issue, no termite, no mold, no nothing. We just found like a little patch of dry rot in the master bathroom and nothing that can't be replaced with subfloor. So we reviewed that with our GC. He's been hands-on and working with us in tandem during the demo. All good and well. The contractor eventually gets in there, starts, knocks out the bathroom, knocks out another bathroom, and we're starting on the powder room, the mud room, and he's also on the kitchen. So objective 1 was finish all the bathrooms. Eventually we get about 80% done all bathrooms. We had this whole like Home Depot vanity snafu. I got the same vanities from Home Depot, all different sizes. I love them. I wanted nothing else. The one vanity that I wanted for the powder room kept coming in with a cracked countertop, and I had them ship me a new one 5 times before I got one that was not cracked. So Home Depot, do better, but I digress. That ended up being the least of my problems. So moving on, I end up, where are we in this process? So we're 80% done our bathrooms. We have our painter come in. We start bringing in some more cosmetic folk because we're going to end up moving downstairs and into a more controlled area. We're getting close to our move-in date at this point. We have carpet guy come in. We have painters come in. We have handyman come in to swap out some lighting fixtures. We're smooth sailing. We're cruising. My brother comes in one weekend, and he's a contractor. We have a lot of family members in construction. However, we did not bring any of them in because they are busy or live too far away. Mostly that they live too far away. And this was like a big undertaking too. I would have housed them, done everything, but they live too far away. So my brother comes in just to check on everything and just like, I'm excited, just can't wait to show him the house. He comes in and says, this tile in this bathroom, he says, Britt, you're probably paying a lot of money for this tile in this bathroom, and I'm not here to like, poo-poo on any of this work, but you might want to get this retiled. And he showed me a few things that to the untrained eye, again, like we've done this several times, but I typically have a squirmy toddler on my hip when I'm walking through the house. And also some things that seemed like a non-issue, I was able to roll with. Other things, we had crooked benches, we had some questionable areas around like sewer ventilation, some things that we flagged prior, but I was like, okay, I trust this GC, they're doing the right thing. I feel like my superpower is letting the professionals be professionals in their own respective space without like challenging their authority too much. Until you have to. Sometimes you do need to. I didn't feel compelled to just yet. My husband picked out a few things too. Said, floor joist, are you sure we don't need to sister this floor joist? We just took down this wall. This wall was previously supporting it. There used to be a lot of weight on it. We understand there's no weight on it anymore. We took out the wet bed, the jacuzzi tub, but do we still need to sister this? I feel like I still need to sister this. So fast forward anyway, bring in my brother, and he says, Britt, you might want to have them redo this tile. This seems like pretty shoddy work. This grout isn't like the same color. And I'm like, oh no, you're not wrong. This tile is cut, in a weird, awkward way. And he's showing me all of these things. And I'm like, oh no, now I cannot unsee it. And again, there were some things that we flagged before. They had to undo and redo the shower bench. I'm like, you're working with rectangles and boxes and squares. Do you own a level? Why is this off kilter in the first place? We built this. So they tried to fix it. It was still off. And we were just like, you know what? It is what it is. But when my brother came in and gave his opinion, I was like, okay, a professional in this space should be catching these hiccups. And I'm no longer okay with this. So we bring it to our contractor's attention. He offers to demo the tiles that we already installed, redo them. Or he offered to bring in a professional tile company to do the tile work exclusively. So we opted for the professional tiler to come in and do the tile work exclusively. However, he was unable to get his tile guy in quick enough, so I got a referral. I was able to get in next day. Again, time is of the essence. We're moving in that weekend. We have to keep this train on the tracks. We bring in the tile guy. He's like, this demo work, like we really need to start from scratch. He points out the areas that were not waterproofed or areas that were not installed properly. He tells me why things are crooked to begin with. It starts to make sense. Fast forward a day later, we have our HVAC contractor in there. He's doing HVAC work. He's also a trained plumber. He makes a panic phone call to my husband and he says, Nick, none of this plumbing is up to code. At this point, my heart sinks. I also say I'm grateful because we have not sealed up any walls. And if it weren't for this contractor coming through and saying that none of this is up to code, we would have sealed up the walls blissfully and ignorantly and probably had a leak down the line because none of it was up to snuff. None of it was up to code. And all of it was outfitted with temporary fittings like shark bites, etc., which are incorrect, by the way. So we bring in our plumber. We have a meeting of the minds with the contractor. The contractor comes in. He agrees that the plumbing should have been done differently. And at this point, I start to scratch my head. I said, why wasn't any of this caught before? We have not one project manager here, but two. Between the tile work, between the plumbing, why was none of this caught? Oh, and in addition, they forgot to install a sewer vent in our toilet, which helps with sewer fumes and gases, which are toxic if inhaled. They forgot to install that after swearing to us 3 different times, 3 different ways that it was installed, yet the GC could never point it out to us where it was. So we were scratching our head a few times. So at this point, we start to lose faith. We start to lose trust. The contractor's like, let me give it another shot. I said, we've given you multiple shots to like undo and redo things and you keep like failing or floundering. At this point, we're taking the job into our own hands. We appreciate the work that you've done. We'll send you a bill for the work that we have to redo and we'll be on our merry way. And at this point, it starts to go south. So during that conversation, we had the meeting of the minds on site. Plumber was there, just, politely going through everything with our GC, saying, here's everything that is incorrect. And again, the GC agreed. Suddenly, the GC has a father who's actively involved in the business. I've never even heard of him before up until this point. So things get a little murky. The GC pulls us aside and he says, hey, he was so profusively apologetic. He did feel terrible. Again, we're all in the same industry. He wanted to do a good job for me and my family. I get it, but he didn't. And, at the end of the day, I wouldn't be upset if he made his wrong right and honored his word. But he pulled us aside, was virtually in tears, saying, I'm just so sorry. I can't believe this happened. We'll figure out a way to make everything right and make you whole. A few days later, we end up going back and forth and, we name our number and say, here's objectively all the bills that we've incurred as a result of your work. Can you help us pay them? He pretty much says no. I don't agree with any of that work. So backpedals on all of this stuff and says go pound sand. So that's what we've been up to. Now, fortunately, we have the right people in place. We did scramble and I'm kicking myself because if we did just shop another contractor or brought in our old guys from before, and frankly, I feel like we're better at GCing this anyway because we are just adjacent to this and we know how to work with contractors. We do this for a living. I'm in the industry. We're kicking ourselves because we should have brought them in. Not only would we have saved a lot of time, but we would have saved a lot of money. So that's going to be my lesson for everybody who's listening to this week. There's a lot that I did wrong and that we could have done right if we stopped and really trust our instinct. And by we, I mean my husband too. I think he's a better judgment at this than I am. My flaw and my blind spot is trusting people a little too much, especially when they come highly regarded and they seem like good people. So if you're emitting that energy, I'm going to trust you. But the minute that you tell me or give me a reason not to trust you, then I'm not going to trust you. And that's what we did. We were slow to hire, quick to fire. And, now we have the right guys on site, but now we have to undo and redo quite a bit. Hence why we're living in an active construction site. But I just keep joking and saying we're just glamping in our own house. We have our dining room staged as our kitchen right now. We've got a refrigerator in there. We've got a microwave. It's basically dorm style living. And I ordered Teddy Little Spoon to make sure that he has some hearty, high quality food because I can't prepare vegetables, roast them, saute, fresh chicken, stuff like that the way that I normally would. So He's got his little spoon. We're doing some prepared meals. Thank goodness for Wegmans, DoorDash, and Costco. But we have a lot of irons in the fire at the moment. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't tired, but god damn, it feels so good to be back in my own bed. I have not slept that well in probably a month and a half, mostly because of like everything going on with the job site and our house, but also pregnancy insomnia is real, and it crept up on me really fast this time around. I think that just about covers everything. This year, we're looking forward to having another great year. We have a new team member on the team. That's another thing that we did in Q4 of last year was we added Kristen Condon on our team. She's wonderful. I'm sure that you've seen me post on social media about her. She's been in the business for about 2 years. She is a breast cancer survivor, and she's just like a radically wonderful and beautiful human, both inside and out. So if you haven't introduced yourself to her already or seen her, please just give her a follow on Instagram. She has a lot to offer, and she's been a wonderful addition to the team. She just adds so much for team morale and culture, and really is like the missing link that we've had and needed. So that was another thing that we did. But overall, we're cruising. Like, we're figuring it out. I'm so damn grateful to, like, 1, have this endurance, 2, have the experience that I have, 3, have the husband that I have, and the child that I have, because Teddy's been like a real trooper through all this transition, which the mom guilt deserves a separate episode on it in itself. That is crippling when you feel like you're just changing and moving with your toddler constantly. But my nanny said it best. He's not going to remember any of this when he gets older. What he will remember is the time that you invested with him, not the house that he was in, which is honestly the God's honest truth. I'm just happy to see him back in his playroom with all of his books and things. But yeah, we're doing all right. You know, the workouts are taking a back seat. My social life is taking a back seat. I love all of my friends and my family who I've not seen in a very long time. But this is just a little life update. You know, we're doing okay. We're making it happen. I will continue to share some of our contractor drama as we continue to go. But again, I love talking about this stuff. Like, I would love for my experience to not be anyone else's. So this is why I'm sharing it. And if I can be a sounding board or a form of support, or if you just want to reach out and talk about any of your construction or contractor woes or moving woes or life woes or first trimester, second trimester, moving from 1 to 2 kids, whatever it is, you know, I'm an open book always, and I love that dialogue. So as always, thank you for tuning in. I appreciate everyone. I'm so happy to be back. It feels so good to hold this microphone. And signing off, I'll see you next week. As always, give me a follow where you can, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll talk to you soon.